So I'm Amelia. I am AWHC Senior Communications Manager. I am here to talk to you today about wild horses, about American wild horse conservation, and what we do, and particularly the Adoption Incentive Program, as that probably affects a lot of rescues out there. So I'm going to go ahead and move this forward. Before I dive into what I'm talking about today, the AIP, I just wanted to set the stage. So American Wild Horse Conservation is the nation's leading wild horse advocacy organization. We are over 800,000 strong, and we really have a grassroots advocacy base to advocate for wild horses and burros across the nation. We focus on legislation, litigation, and actual in-the-wild conservation. So we have a lot of boots on the ground people that implement various conservation solutions across the West. So about wild horses and burros are federally protected by the 1971 Wild Free Roaming Horses and Burros Act. This act was passed unanimously by Congress and really cemented how important wild horses are to our cultural fabric. The only other species to be protected at the same level with a specific law protecting that one species is the bald eagle. So that really shows how important wild horses are to our culture and to Americans in general. We polled Americans and it shows that 80% of wild horses and burros protected, so this is really important to everyone across the board. And now over 70,000 wild horses roam across 10 western states, so there's horses in Oregon, in Nevada, where the majority live, in Utah, in Wyoming, and other western states. The current state of wild horses is unfortunately dire. The Bureau of Land Management is tasked with the management of wild horses and burros, and they use the most costly and cruel way to manage wild horses, and that is through low-flying helicopter roundups. They come in and they round up wild horses and they separate them from all they hold dear, which is family and freedom. They funnel them into pens where it's very traumatic. They could break their legs, their necks. We see some very gruesome injuries in these roundups. And then they get funneled into an overburdened holding facility system where 62,000 wild horses already languish. We're reaching a breaking point, and this is in this unsustainable system where we're about to have more wild horses in holding than in the wild. And that is absolutely heartbreaking. So this year alone, or I guess almost last fiscal year, the Bureau of Land Management aimed to round up 18,000 wild horses at the taxpayer cost of $157 million. So it is costly, it is inhumane, and there absolutely is a better way to do this. So again, as I mentioned, there are over 62,000 wild horses and burros in holding. So the BLM is quickly heading to a place where this is absolutely unsustainable and the cost is too much for Congress to continue funding. So that's why they implemented in 2019 the Adoption Incentive Program. The Adoption Incentive Program is a program that pays individuals $1,000 to adopt a wild, unhandled horse or burro. You can adopt up to 4 in 1 year, and you get $1,000 at the end of the 1-year waiting titling period. It's really important to know that all adopters sign under penalty of prosecution a clause that says they will not give away or sell or resell their horse or burro to any person, organization, or organization who intends to, again, resell, give away, or put the horse at risk of commercial processing or slaughter. Despite that, our investigation has shown that that is exactly what this program does. It is placing horses in direct threat of slaughter and is funneling them into the slaughter pipeline. So we knew this would be a disaster for wild horses and burros, and unfortunately, we were right. The last 4 years, I have been investigating the Adoption Incentive Program and its consequences, and they are dire. To date, we've identified over 2,100 horses and burros, BLM branded horses and burros, in kill pens across the country. We were able to identify 855 of them by their BLM freeze mark. And how we go about this investigation is we utilize the Freedom of Information Act. For those that don't know, the FOIA is an act that allows you as private citizens to request government documents and get government documents back in the name of increasing transparency within the federal government. So we utilize that to get adoption records and confirm that these horses are adopted through the Adoption Incentive Program. So we were able to identify 855 wild horses and burros by their BLM brand, and through that FOIA process, we were able to confirm that over 70% of them were actually adopted through the AIP. only 29 horses that we have filed FOIAs on have not been adopted through the AIP. It's absolutely clear as day that this program is placing horses in direct threat of slaughter. We're waiting for FOIAs to come back. If anyone has used the FOIA process, you know it is lengthy, it takes a very long time, and so we're still waiting for a few FOIAs to come back. Probably even more shocking than just the sheer number of wild horses and burros in the slaughter pipeline thanks to the AIP is that we've identified groups of related individuals conspiring together to adopt the maximum number of horses, hold them for 1 year, and then funnel them into the slaughter pipeline. They flip their horses as soon as they get that money into kill pens across the country. So one particular group we found has adopted 82 horses in the last 3 years, and that is $82,000 of taxpayer money. That is $82,000 that you are all paying to line their pockets and to send these horses to slaughter. And what we found is absolutely just the tip of the iceberg. Again, this is only what we've been able to identify on Facebook and through boots on the ground work to find wild horses and burros. And so there's so many more out there that we know. Unfortunately, we've only been able to identify the 2,100. So as I mentioned, we use FOIA to do this investigation, and so we regularly file FOIA requests on all the brands that we're able to identify in kill pens, as well as communications with the BLM and kill pens themselves. What we're finding is that the BLM actually knows that this is happening. They're communicating with the kill pens, they're texting with the kill pens, and they're confirming if they can sell the horses or not. And so we actually have these text messages confirming that they know the extent of this problem. We also file for adoption records, so this way we are able to confirm if the horses are adopted at the same address, if it's the same group of individuals adopting horses, and we're able to track it that way. And then, as I mentioned, FOIA takes absolutely forever to get back, so we have FOIAs languishing for over 3 years now, and we've had to file litigation at least three times to obtain these records. Not only do we file FOIAs with the Bureau of Land Management, but we also file FOIAs with various state departments of ag to get transportation records and to try to backtrack wild horses that way in the kill pens. We also file FOIAs with the USDA to get the slaughter certificate to transport to slaughter records to see if we can identify Bureau of Land Management horses going across the border that way. Unfortunately, as you can see up there, that is a FOIA we have gotten back from USDA. There is nothing on it. It's completely redacted, and we were unable to get any information based on the FOIA exemption, so we are currently fighting against that. Our investigation has absolutely inspired change. We, as mentioned earlier, our work was inspired a 2021 New York Times front page expose that dug into this issue. Congress was outraged. There have been numerous letters sent by members of Congress to BLM asking why this program has been implemented. They've asked the BLM to review the program, and they're keeping a really close eye on it. And then the Bureau of Land Management additionally enacted 2 sets of reforms after our report came out, but they all fall short of addressing the core issue of the AIP, which is the cash component. So unfortunately, when you mix money and animals, the animals lose, and this program and our investigation shows that the animals are losing. And so not only does the AIP send wild horses into slaughter auctions, it actually has a really big impact on smaller local rescues. So the AIP has forced these privately funded rescues to shoulder the responsibility of protection and preservation of wild horses and burros, and it's forced them to, bear the full weight of the consequences of the BLM's program. There has been a huge influx of wild horses and burros into the rescue market, and a lot of rescues are not equipped to handle a wild unhandled horse or burro, because really at the core they are a wild animal. And so there's been a very small number of rescues that can actually save wild horses and burros, and unfortunately we don't know the fate of many of the horses we've identified. So one thing I wanted to let all of you guys know is AWHC has a small grants program to address exactly that. While the BLM continues to funnel horses and burros into this pipeline, we want to make sure that we can expand capacity for rescues to take them in and support the longevity of rescues. So we have funded the rescue, the vet care, we funded hay, transportation, and all of that. But more excitingly, we also fund capacity building grants. So we funded a squeeze chute, a flatbed truck, general things to help maintain the rescue going forward. And then one question we get a lot is, if not AIP, then what? We have an unmanaged system on our hands right now. There are so many horses in holding, not so many in the wild, and the BLM has not indicated that they're changing their course of action. So AWHC is not against responsible adoption. Adoption is great. It is a really great way for the horses that are in holding right now to get out of holding and to get into loving, good homes. But unfortunately, obviously, the AIP is not that. There are no compliance inspections that are good enough to make sure that there's no abuse of the program. And the compliance inspections are virtual, so they're just, you take a picture, send a picture in, and that's it, and you get your $1,000. So we really urge the Bureau of Land Management to beef up its compliance program, as well as abandon the cash incentives. If you get the money out of the problem, there's going to be less people that want to abuse it. So we advocate for using veterinary vouchers. The Bureau of Land Management already has a veterinary voucher program in place. It would just require them to reallocate resources to expand this program. And offering veterinary vouchers still fulfills the mandate of the AIP. It's to offset the initial year of care. So this is a great way to help incentivize adopters and help incentivize responsible adopters. And then also the BLM must investigate and prosecute violations of contracts. Without strong consequences, this will just keep happening. So the BLM has not laid their foot down or anything like that, and they are just allowing this to happen. They are washing their hands of the situation. And then additionally, the BLM must work with rescues to place older or disabled horses in burros. More collaboration with rescues would ensure that horses get out of holding facilities and into sanctuary settings if that's appropriate, and so that they're not, held on the taxpayer dime for the rest of their lives or unfortunately euthanized. And then I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the BLM must prioritize in the wild conservation solutions like fertility control. AWHC runs the world's largest fertility control program for wild horses in Nevada's Virginia range, and we're showing success at stabilizing births in an area where their habitat is rapidly encroached on by rapid development. And additionally, our results of that program were recently validated in a scientific peer-reviewed paper that showed that PCP programs are not only a viable solution to the BLM's mismanagement, but they're actually scalable. So they can be done on large habitats with large populations. So I think that is what I've got. If you have any questions, my email is right there, and I think we'll have a Q&A at the end. So thank you so much, and I look forward to connecting with all of you.